But the one thing I do want to say is just, guys, just really just never give up on you and your purpose. Like, don't give up on what you were put on this earth to do. Like, don't give up on you, period. Because at the end of the day, I had to understand that, like you are.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DHomer Real Estate Podcast, where the focus is to make real estate, personal finance, and self-development digestible, fun, and relatable to everyone. I would truly appreciate it if you like, comment, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, anything to help the algorithm, and also to make it bigger or make the audience bigger so people can get it and hear these amazing gems. Now, today is episode 12. This is actually the season finale. And I want to make sure that we end off with a bang. And we have an amazing guest, a special guest. This is someone who I've been watching literally since I was in high school. This is someone who has been a true inspiration to me. And I'm not afraid to say that. Just watching, the growth, watching the journey has been so amazing to me. And again, being able to meet him and being able to become friends with him, you see that his heart is so pure. You see that he has a genuine heart for people and that he just wants to see people, elevate, grow, and be the best version of themselves. This individual is a content creator. He is a fashion guru, and he's now down on the other side of the country in ATL. And the man I'm talking about is Jalen Nelson. What's going on, yo?
Hey, what's going on, Dondre? Oh my gosh, thank you for that. I appreciate it. My longtime friend from so long ago, since high school.
Yeah, man. I'm so thankful that you were able to come on. This is the season finale, and I want to make sure we end off with a bang. Now, before we get into the questions and the discussion, I have 3 icebreaker questions to loosen up the room for people to get to know you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah. So the first question is,
right.
How would you describe yourself in 5 words?
Ooh, unique, vibrant, extra, genuine, and pure-hearted. Yeah.
Pure-hearted. Yep.
Yeah. Those 5 for sure.
Extra.
Yeah. Extra for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Now, I mentioned that, you are in ATL, you left the cold, which is all good. You know what I'm saying? Between ATL and Toronto, which city has the best food?
Is that even a question? Is that?
I want to know.
It's Atlanta for sure.
Ooh,
the food over here is insane. I've
never been. So,
no, the food over here, first of all, state's food period is lit, but Atlanta, that stuff, they put flavor on everything. They don't miss a beat. Southern food, just all the food that I've tried here, bomb, A1. There's not something that I've tried where I'm like, this is gross. It tastes really, really good. And this is exactly why the people down here gain weight. I get it now. Because the food is so good, flavorful,
and cheap.
And it's cheap. But it's just really, really good. Every restaurant I've been to, I'm just like, wow. There's not one where I was like, oh, this tastes crazy. So definitely, I'm going to say, not even being biased, ATL's food is top tier, for sure.
It's better than Egg West, any Caribbean food.
Oh. Okay, so one thing that Toronto has over Atlanta is definitely the Caribbean food. Hey. Toronto just tops Caribbean food, period. If you want great Caribbean food, I always tell people, Toronto is the go. Yeah. I feel like the States, I'm not saying the Caribbean food in the States is bad, but they just don't got the sauce Toronto has. Juice. We got the juice. Toronto got the juice. But in terms of other stuff, if you want steak, pasta, Southern food, bomb. They win in that department.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go there. I'm gonna have to go there still. I've never been to Atlanta.
The food is bomb.
I'm trying to get my wife to, for us to move there because I like the weather, but it is what it is. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the final icebreaker question is, if you can go back in time, what is one thing that you would want to change?
My confidence.
Talk about
Yeah,
that.
my confidence. I feel like when I was younger, I just felt like my confidence was not the greatest. I felt like I was scared to kind of like showcase who I was as an individual. As you know, obviously you would know, just being in high school and like, you know, just like wearing different outfits and like people just really judging you. Like it was a lot for me to handle because I was just really trying to be myself. And then people were just like, what is this guy wearing? And like, who is he? Or like, you know, and I just, like, even though I was wearing these outfits, I was also kind of scared to wear certain things because I felt like if I came to school or if I came somewhere, I felt like people would just like judge me and I just didn't want that. So I try to keep the light off me, but eventually I just kind of, you know, said, forget it. Like, this is who I am, like embrace it. And that's where we are. But definitely I would say to change my confidence because now I'm the most confident I've ever been. Like, you can't tell me nothing. You just can't. Like, you can't tell me. Like, you can't tell me. You can't tell me if my outfit's crazy. You just can't tell me nothing. So now I'm in a space where I feel comfortable and I feel good and I feel confident. So that's what I would tell my younger self for sure.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Again, I remember seeing you in high school and I thought you were the most confident individual. I'm like, yeah. Come on with neon green pants and I'm like, okay, you look like
no, for real. Like it's crazy because like I used to wear those things, but then like subconsciously in the back of my brain, I'd be like, okay, like I know that these people are looking at me, or I know that, and it was very uncomfortable for me. However, I still kind of pushed through it and like still kind of did it. But yeah, it was definitely a mess. It was definitely a mess. But however, I still stayed true to me, and like now look where we are. So yeah.
Right. I love it. Well,
yeah.
thank you for answering the icebreaker questions. Again, I'm sure that the audience were able to get to know you a little bit more, but I want to give you the opportunity and the floor to, you know, formally introduce yourself as Jalen Nelson.
Yes. So guys, as you said before, my name is Jalen Nelson. I'm about to be 30 in a couple of weeks. I'm so excited. Yeah, I am pretty much a fashion content creator and I'm a marketing mentor. I've been on social media for about 7 to 8 years. And I first started off just taking pictures of just myself. Like I was like, okay, I want to showcase my fashion, showcase what I do. And I had to speak through that through pictures. So I would just take pictures every day. I would take pictures all the time. And people just started to gravitate towards it on social media. And before you know it, I just gained like, you know, some sort of a following. And just a lot of people who are bigger than me, way bigger than me at the time, used to like repost my stuff, follow me. And back then, like 10,000 followers was a big deal. Back then, if you had 100K, it was a really big deal. So, you know, that's pretty much how that went about. Fast forward, I became a stylist. How that happened was I worked at like places like Forever 21, Zara, and I was doing visual merchandising at those places. And visual merchandising is when you pretty much style the mannequins. And I was styling the mannequins. And then I was like, hey, like, let me kind of transfer this onto people. And so I started to do that on people. People really, really loved it. And I loved it. I thought it was super bomb. It was something to express my personality. I really, really loved it. And then fast forward again, I was like, okay, like, you know, fast forward again, the pandemic came and I was like, okay, well, how am I supposed to continue to style? Like, you know, if like the pandemic's here, I have to have, you know, the clothes. I can't go get the clothes. I can't pull them. So pretty much I was like, okay, like we may have to pivot, but I was kind of scared to pivot because people knew me as the stylist. So I didn't know how to pivot properly. So then after that, you know, in 2020, I just said, you know what, like it's time to go ham. And 2020 was my last year working a retail job. I quit my job June 4th, 2020, after working retail for 10 years. And it was crazy because I never thought I would be able to see that point. And then 2 years later, I bought a car and then I was like, okay, like things are starting to happen. And then 2021, I was like, okay, Jalen, like we got to now pivot into content creating because we know that the pandemic is going to be here for a while. And I feel like it's something that you want to do. So I started to content create. I went to the studio every single week to the studio. I did 4 videos every single week, edited 4 reels, edited. And before you know it, a year later, literally got a place, which you helped me with. So shout out to Dondre, because Dondre was the one who helped me with getting my place and situating everything. And he's the best for that. So I got a place. And after that, I worked with over 15 brands last year. Wow. And I was on national television. I made my first 6 figures in my business. There's just so many things that happened. And then I came to Atlanta and I taught my first international class and a bunch of projects here. in Atlanta as well. So just so many things have happened, but that's just who I am, and that's what I do. And that was my pretty much my quick story. So yeah, and now we're here. We're still in Atlanta. So yeah.
Man, thank you for sharing. Again, you kind of went through a quick synopsis of the story, of your journey, and
right.
Again, being able to see the progression and see the growth has been, again, inspiring. And that's what we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna be talking about the journey and just really pinpointing certain things. But
Of
before
course.
we get into it, I would love for you to share to the listeners and the viewers, like, where did you come from and how was your childhood?
So I was born in Etobicoke, which is in Toronto, and I also my background is Jamaican. So anyone who's Jamaican, shout out to y'all. So I'm a whole Jamaican. I love Jamaica. That's where I come from. That's where my entire family resides. And my childhood, I guess you could say I had a pretty good childhood. It wasn't really crazy, not too much. But I do feel like when I got into like middle school, high school, that's when kind of things changed for me. Again, I was really bullied as an individual. As a child, I was really bullied just for like, being different. For myself, I had a very I had a very flamboyant personality. So people couldn't really take to that much. And I had a very vibrant personality. So people would just call me names. People would just think I'm weird. And I just didn't really like that. Like it kind of really did take a toll on me when I was younger. And then also too, I just felt like I was a black sheep. Like I would give my opinions and people wouldn't really, they would just kind of leave me out of the picture, stuff like that. And that's how I kind of grew up, as a child, I grew up that way. So even just as a child, when you're telling people ideas and then they're like, oh, that doesn't matter. Or you're telling them something exciting and they're like, you don't hear no excitement back. It's like, it actually builds, that trauma builds from you. So literally I had to really experience that, and I had to unlearn that. So I even know being when I was a child or whatever, growing up, it resonated with me and it came with me, because even now, the fact that I just told you, oh, hey, I just made 6 figures. People are like, oh my God, that's great. But for me, I was like, hey, I made 6 figures. I had to celebrate.
Wow.
I don't know how to celebrate myself, which I'm working on. I'm working on
Okay,
that, but I didn't know how to celebrate myself properly, because I felt like as a child, when I was expressive and trying to be exciting about the things that I wanted to do, people would shut it down. So now I've gotten way better though. Now I've learned to I have an assistant who's amazing. Shout out to her. Now I've learned to just, my friends have encouraged me to celebrate every aspect of your life. But then again, I eventually got through it, and I just started to build that confidence. But one thing that I really loved about myself as a child is I always stayed true to me. I never faked funk. I never tried to be somebody else. I always had a personality that shined through. And if I walked in a room, you were going to know me, or you wanted to know me. It was one of the two. It was one of the two. So that's one thing I really did respect about myself, as just me growing up into just adulthood. And that's never changed. So yeah.
And that's beautiful. I think that's very important for people. And I'm gonna be, I guess, vulnerable now. This is something that I'm still learning, or adapting, especially in this new career, new space, is being true to me. Right. I'm a very, I would consider myself a very nice person. And some people may take that for weakness sometimes, right? But again, you have to stay true to who you are, because at the end of the day, no one is going to love you more than you, right? So you have to just.
And that's just that on that. Because if nobody else gonna love you, who else gonna love you other than you?
Exactly. So you mentioned that, you're in fashion, and I'm curious to know, what or who inspired you to get into the fashion world? Because again, I've seen the transitions in high school. I'm like, who inspired this?
So it was definitely my father. So shout out to my dad. My dad is a fashion mogul. He's a fashion guru. And just growing up, I used to watch him all the time, just, wear these nice outfits and just go outside. And I used to be Dad, where are you going? Where are you going? And he used to just, tell me I'm going out or whatever. And then basically I kind of just asked him, Dad, tell me about the different fabrics. Tell me about the different colors, because I kind of want to get into what you're into. And that's how it pretty much started. That's how it blossomed. He pretty much told me you can't wear this with this. Make sure when you're going out, you look like this. And then when I would go outside, he'd be like, hey, Jay, you can't wear this. It looks kind of crazy. Make sure you tailor it to this. And then honestly, it just kind of rubbed on me. And then after that, I kind of he is more of the, he's definitely out there, but I'm more of the risk taker. I will wear the pinks, the purples. Like he wears pink, purple, yellow, whatever, but I will go out the box and put like a train or a do-rag that has diamonds. Like I'll do the most, right?
Extra.
So I kind of, so yeah, extra. Yes, extra. So, but yeah, I got pretty much the style from him, and pretty much I just took it and I ran with it, and I made it into a whole brand, honestly. And I just started to experiment in fashion, and I started to experiment the different colors. I started to experiment different things. And honestly, like that is how I was able to build this brand, just from experimenting, being myself and just being different. And yeah, it's definitely my dad. So shout out to Pops, for real.
Shout out to Pops. Shout out to Pops again.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of curious to know, like, without, like, before fashion, was there anything else that kind of like piqued your interest that you wanted to get into? Or
yeah. So I had two things that I wanted to do. So the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to be an English teacher. So I love, one thing about me, I love English. I love writing. I love like doing essays, like all that stuff. I'm really, really good at English. I was always a top tier student in English. I've always gotten A's. I'm in English. So I was like, okay, like maybe this could be a thing for me because, you know, I love it. So that was one. And then number two was I wanted to be a pediatrician, which is a doctor for kids. So I was like, okay, because I love kids. I just really love kids. So I was like, okay, like if I really, really love kids, maybe I should do something within that field. So once I looked up pediatrician and how long it took, I said, not doing it. I was like, absolutely not. So then I'm like, okay, like teaching kind of seems like a more, you know, shorter route. So I said, okay, like let me go with the teaching route. So I went to Humber and I did a double major program. So I did 2 years in college, and then I did 4 years in university. However, the 2 years was really successful. So I was on the honor roll, which is great. And then I went to university for 2 years. And then after the 2 years, Dondre, I dropped out. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It was random.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was random. It's so funny because every time I tell people this story, it's like, I did so well too. In my first 2 years of university, I did amazing. Like literally 3.9 average, did really well. After like the third year, I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Like literally, I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And I feel like that's when I knew I wanted to pursue fashion, because even though I was going to university, like on my spare time, I would just look up fashion videos. I would just look up like, you know, like fashion shows. I would look at Vogue magazines. Like I just knew I wanted to do something with fashion. So I was like, if I start fashion, let me start it now. And that's when I started. That's when I quit. I dropped out of college, and then I just started to like find jobs and just figure my way out. And yeah.
And how was that leap? Because I transitioned from college too. And I'm curious to know, like, how was that leap? Like, how did your father, your mother take it, hearing that you were doing so well, and I don't know, you're just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm not doing this no more. Like, how was that leap?
Yeah. So my mom is very much like, Jalen, do what you want to do as long as it sustains you and it makes you successful. So my mom, shout out to my mom, because one thing about my mom is anything that I've told her that I wanted to do, she's never said no. Woo. Like, she's never been like, don't do this, unless it's obviously something crazy that I'm not supposed to do. But like, if I want to do, like, you know, if anything that I told her, whatever dream I told her, whether if it was a pediatrician, whether it was a doctor, whether if it was whatever, she was always like, do it, go ahead. She always gave me the run. She never was like, I don't think you should do this. She always just made me expand my dreams and made me say, like, nothing is ever too big, you know? So I really have to shout out my mom for that, because she's also a risk taker. So she's really big on that. So my mom didn't really care. My dad really didn't care either. My dad's an entrepreneur, so you know how that goes. He's like, like, that's fine. As long as you, again, sustain you save your money, you know, whatever. That's what it was. It was more of my grandparents. So I lived with my grandparents. Because my mom lives in Windsor. So the only reason why that is because I was like, I don't want to move to Windsor because it's not going to really do anything for my brand. So I was like, stay in Toronto and see how I can kind of do stuff. So I was with my grandparents. So my grandparents are more of the, you know, hardcore Caribbean, like, why did you drop out of school? Like what was that about? And then they kind of started to like resent me a little bit because I came out of school, and then it was just kind of like the relationship kind of stopped a little bit. Like there was not really much conversation. And it was annoying, but I didn't let that stop me. You know, I didn't let that stop me from doing the dreams that I wanted to do, because I just feel like in life, like, it's your dream at the end of the day. And no matter who wants to get mad, pissed off, whatever, like, it's your life. Like, you know what I mean? It's your life. And like, people want to like live through you, but at the end of the day, like, you have to live through yourself. Right. So I just kind of stayed the narrative, stayed the course. And then eventually, like, my grandparents decided, like, they kind of seen, oh, like, he's really making money for himself. He bought a new car. He did this, whatever. So then they started to be like, okay, like, he's good. Like, he's good, you know? He's good. So that was kind of the journey with that. And yeah.
Wow. It's interesting to see how people circle around when they start to see things move. It's like, okay, you know what? But shout out to your parents again. I had a RESP agent who was saying that, you know, parents, don't kill your children's dreams, because you just don't know what that can turn into. And to be able to see that, you know, your parents, and to hear that your parents did not kill your dreams, and look at you now, you know, 6-figure earner, doing your thing, traveling. That's so shout out to your parents for really just seeing something in you, and really just, you know, feeding it and allowing you to prosper in your into your field. Now, I'm curious, like, I would love to hear, like, before getting to the fashion world, did you have any like preconceived like notions, like transitioning into it, like transitioning into the industry world? Like, what did you think that the fashion world was going to be like before actually getting into it?
So it's crazy because I knew, because obviously, like, I'm a believer, like, of Christ, obviously, you know, I'm a Christ lover and all that. So I already knew how the industry was before I got into it. Like, I knew, just because I know people that are already in the industry. So I knew, like, okay, like, what they prepared me for. But the one thing, I guess the one thing that you could say that I really did realize is that how intense it could be. Like just like that industry within a whole, whether it's the music industry or just like fashion, it's really intense. There's so many people that you can meet. There's so many people that you know. Like, it's very like go, go, go. Like, it doesn't stop. Oh, so when I got into like the fashion industry or whatever, I was just like, whoa, like, this is like, it just like, it's a lot happening, you know, at once. And for me, like, yes, I have a vibrant personality, but I'm also like an introvert extrovert. So like in the fashion industry, it's very much extrovert. Like, you're very much in people's spaces, you're very much doing a lot of stuff. So for me, it was like a lot at one time. But eventually I got used to it. One thing I know how to do is I know how to talk to people, even if I'm like an introvert at that time. Like, I'll still know how to talk to people. I still know how to vibe with people. But eventually when I got into it, it got something where it was like, it became easier, you know? It became easier. It didn't become so much. But that's what I would say for that. That was my like first initial reaction. I just didn't realize like how intense like it would be. But I got used to it. So it got easy at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had a feeling that I would assume that it's very fast paced, because again, trends switch like
quick.
all the time.
Like, you gotta like fashion, you have to like, these trends like are like every week, every 2 weeks. Like, even when I do video content, every week, every 2 weeks, like, you have to be on the game. You gotta be on go, right? So one of those things where I didn't realize that until I got into it, and then they're like, yeah, so this trend, I said, oh, but I just did this last. They're like, no, you got to do it again. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that's how quick it is. So it's like, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that's where we're at. So it's really one of those things where it was like, okay, but eventually I just got used to it, and like now I'm just on. So yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna transition into the journey, journey of Lick My Fashion, and just the growth. And preparing for this, I did some studying, and I actually went back to your high school, not your high school, your YouTube page, Lick My Fashion, and you know, I was really just going back and seeing all the videos. I was like, wow. And one video that stuck out to me was your 2019 update video. And I want to touch on a few things, and I'm gonna really point out some of the topics, and I want you just to elaborate, because like, we are in an investor, we're in an entrepreneurial season. A lot of people want to start their own business and want to quit their 9 to 5 and want to jump, but the journey is not what it, you know, people don't just go boom 6 figures. You know, there's a journey to it. So in the video, you talked about being stagnant, and and that you're working, you know, you're working a 9 to 5 and you're doing all this work, but you still felt stagnant. May you please elaborate on exactly how you were feeling?
So that time was just a lot for me. Like, the 2019 update, like, I was like really like just coming out of depression, but I was still kind of in it. And I just felt like for so long, I've just been working on my brand. I've been working on just me, and I just didn't see anything come out of it. Like, I didn't see anything come out of it. I just didn't see like what other people were seeing. And what I mean by that is like a lot of people are like, oh my God, like you're this, like imagine people saying, oh my gosh, like we love you, Jalen, like you're so dope, this, that, the third. And then I'm like, I don't see what you guys see. So it's like, I didn't see that. Like, I didn't see the dopeness. I didn't see the creative Jalen at the time. I didn't see oh, he's working. I didn't see that. And that's how I felt for a while. And I also felt like too, I would, like I said, my ideas would get shut down. I just didn't know how to get to the next level. And I think that was the most frustrating thing was how Jalen go from this level to the next. And I just didn't have, also too, it also stems from having the right people around you, because I didn't have people around me either. So I really couldn't ask them questions. And also too, it was really hard because being like the only social media influencer, like within your friend group, right? Like just didn't, it didn't, no one really does that. So at 2019, like no one really did that. I was the only social media influencer in my group. It was like probably me and like a couple of others. But other than that, like my core circle, like didn't know. And I couldn't blame them, because one thing about it is I'll never force people to do what I do. Like that's not what I do. But however, it was just difficult. I couldn't go to somebody and be like, hey, like, I'm just really upset because this YouTube video is not doing really well. Like, how can I change that? Like I couldn't have those conversations. So it was just really frustrating. So it was really just me and God at that point. Like it was just really me and God at that point. And yeah, I just wanted to move further. I felt like I was stagnant and I wanted to change that. And I had to change it, and that's exactly what we did. So
and that's what I want to get into. Like how exactly did you move from feeling stagnant to now, pushing forward?
Yes. So 2019, I had a pivotal moment. And my car had broke down, and it was November of 2019, and it was mad cold. That winter was cold. Okay. That winter was cold. Okay. Right. And my car had broke down. It was like negative like 25 degrees that day, Dondre. It was so cold that day. And my car had broken down. It was freezing cold. My car had no heat. And I just started to cry. Like I just started to cry because I'm like, bruh, like just nothing is going right. Like it just doesn't make sense. Nothing is going right. And my car had broke down, and I called my cousin. Shout out to Tiana, because honestly, if I didn't call her, then I didn't know who to call, because nobody else was answering their phone at the time. So she came, got me, picked me up, and like we just drove the car home, like that car all the way home. Somehow we got it home, and when I got home, I went into my house, warmed up, and I said, Jalen, this is not the life you want for yourself. Like I just sat on the floor and I said, we are not going into 2020 with the same lifestyle in 2019. We're just not doing it. Like that moment made me understand, like, now it's time to create a better life for you. This is so ridiculous. Like, this is actually so ridiculous. And sometimes like you have to tell yourself that, like, this is ridiculous. Like how do I have a car that broke down and I can't pay for it? That's annoying to me. Like how, like that was just annoying for me. So for me, I was like, okay, you know what? After that day, I was like, now we got to figure out ways of how we can pivot and switch the narrative, and just, it's go time. So after that, it was just, honestly, Dondre, it was go time. Like, I don't know what happened. I couldn't even tell you. It was definitely Jesus, but the light switch from here to like up here. And I was like, it's go time. I got into 2020 and I said, we are not letting anything stop you from getting where you need to be. And I just kept calling affirmations on myself. Like, I am going to be a 6-figure earner. I will quit my job. I will be successful with content. And I just kept telling myself that every single day. And I kept myself every single day. And that's pretty much how I was able to, like, pretty much that moment really put fuel in me. It just really put that fuel in me to just really go hard. And I didn't know what to expect from it. I really didn't know. I just went hard, and honestly, that's what it was.
See, now the reason why, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting goosebumps, and I'm like, geez, this is it. And the reason being is because even in my previous episode, me and the guest, we talked about, I said a quote that I heard from Robert Herjavec, and he said, once you've suffered enough, you would do whatever it takes to change your situation. And that's exactly what happened. That story is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Your car broke down, you're crying, you got home, and you're like, you reached your breaking point. I'm done. I'm not doing this no more. I'm not going through this anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's what it was. It was that's what it was. I just said I'm over it. I said I can't keep continuing to live this lifestyle. Like, this is so dumb. Like, Jalen, you're so much more capable than this. And it just took that very moment. And I feel like I really do thank God for that, because, you know, it's crazy. The crazy thing is that sometimes we think God puts us in these situations to, like, you know, torture us, but he really puts us in these positions to actually prepare us. And I realized that in that moment, like, I had to go through that for him to be like, here we go. It's go time now, Jalen. Like, here we go. Yep. And after that, I just never looked back. Like, I never looked back. Now I don't even like look back. Like, some people do everything in their power to stay at their job. I do everything in my power to stay away from it. Like, I'm never going back. So for me, I know that I can't go back. There's no plan B for me. So that's why I go as hard as I do.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Man, that was beautiful. Now, there's another segment or another topic I want to touch on with that video. You mentioned that you know, people tearing you down. So you mentioned that, you know, there are some people who, again, you reach out and, you know, they may not support you, or, you know, there's certain people that, you know, kind of teared you down. You don't have to mention any names, obviously, but do you mind elaborating, like, how did you feel at that moment in time, and how did you break through it, and how did you get out of that funk of, you know, knowing that people were trying to tear you down and you lift yourself up?
Yeah. So yeah, during those times, it was a lot. Like, I had to deal with like a lot. And at the time, I wasn't as strong as I was now. So like, I had more weaknesses. So if I seen like a comment, or if I seen people tearing me down, I would feel away. Like, I would feel away. I think the biggest thing that really took me out of like that situation was definitely prayer. Just really praying about it. You know, to each his own. But for me, it was definitely prayer.
Yeah.
I would just really pray about it. I would just really have people around me that would, you know, console me, and just really like let me know, like, you know, you're way more worthy than, you know, these comments or these people tearing you down. And that's pretty much how I kind of just like got out of it. At some point, you have to tell yourself, like, how long are you gonna stay in this funk, right? Like, how long are you gonna stay in this rut? Like, how long are you gonna stay in and how you feel? And at some point, you just have to be like, listen, like, we can't stay in there forever. And and if you are gonna feel some type of way, or if you are gonna hurt, I'd rather you hurt and work on your brand, or hurt and do something, rather than to hurt and do nothing. And that was the thing that I learned. And that's why I'm really proud of myself, because I know how to feel what I feel, and I know how to let my emotions out. But then I also know that, okay, like, let your emotions out, cry for an hour, cry for 2 hours, be in your bed for a day, whatever. But the next day, it's back to work, right? And that's just how the cookie crumbles. And I feel like that's how I was able to like get out of that. Once I was able to mask my emotions and mask who I was and know who I was, it just became easier and easier as the time goes by. And I always said to myself, like, it doesn't matter who wants to tear you down. Like, you know who you are, and you know what you stand for, and you know what you're capable of. So just get it done, Jalen, and boom. And that's what I did.
Yeah, I like that, because that's a philosophy that I live by as well. Even with my wife, you know, I say, hey, you know what? It's okay to cry for a day, 2 days, you know what I mean, and feel that pain, but you have to. Something has to happen. You like you can't live in that. You can't live in that moment, because you know, I've seen people live in that moment, and it just destroyed them. And I can't obviously tell people how to feel, but I always I try to motivate, you know, people, but hey, you know what? I understand how tough it is. However, we can't stay here. We have to do something to change it. You know, so that's very important. That's very important. You mentioned previously that, you know, people try their best or try as hard as they can to stay at their job, and but you do your best to, you know, actually stay away from it. So I want like, but you weren't always like that, or you weren't always there. So
of course,
how was it, you know, working part-time and chasing your dream at the same time? Like, how were you able to balance, you know, life and dream chasing?
So yeah, so um so going back to that statement, so that statement's more so like for obviously like if you want to become like an entrepreneur and you want to like kill it. However, I just knew that there was something at the end of the tunnel. I said, I'm not really sure when, but I just knew that there was something at the end of the tunnel for me. And again, like I said previously, sometimes, you know, God puts you in these positions to see how you react. He does. He puts you in these positions to see how you feel. He puts you in these positions to see how you move. And it's crazy because while we're complaining about these jobs that we're at, God's here writing your story. Like he doesn't even know that in the next year and a half, like he's going to be a full blown entrepreneur making 6 figures. Like your story's already written, right? So it's like it's one of those things where when I started to do that, it was tough. Like it was definitely tough. However, I knew the end goal. Like, you know, I always think about the end goal. Like I don't just think about the now. I just think about what's going to happen in the end.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they're like, okay, well, you know, I have to do this. I have to do this. Like, get up and work. It just there's no other way around. There's no around that. Like, you have to just push yourself to work and push yourself on a schedule. Like, you know, the one thing that I always hear about people who work 9 to 5s is, you know, when they're finished their shift or whatever, they're tired, right? Like, they're exhausted or they're tired. And for me, I'm not going to say the whole thing of like you're not tired, you're uninspired. I'm not going to say that because some people are really truly tired. Some people are really tired. Like they like, you know, it must be crazy to wake up at 7 o'clock, you get ready, go to work for 8. Like you had a 14-hour day, so you're definitely tired. However, right? How, like I always tell people, like exhaust all options. When you come home, take that hour to 2 hour nap. Boom, get up, work on your brand, right? That hour to 3 hour nap or take that time to chill, whatever, boom, work on your brand, right? But some people, they come home and then they just want to relax for the rest of the night. But it's like, you can take an hour out of your day to work on your brand. You could take an hour and a half, right, to work on your brand. You don't have to work on it all night. But I'm saying work on it more consistently so that you can see yourself blossom into what. Because if you want your side hustle to be your main hustle, you're going to have to put in the work and you're going to have to act like you have 2 jobs. That's why I always say, y'all have to act like you have 2 jobs. Like literally act like you have 2 jobs and treat them as such instead of treating one another. And I think that was what I did. I just kind of treated them both like a job. And I was like, okay, like when I come home, I got to work on this. When I come home, I got to work on this, you know? So, and that's how you kind of balance yourself. And at the beginning, of course, it's going to be annoying. You gonna cry. You're going to be upset. You're going to be mad. You're going to be miserable. But at the end, like just focus on the end goal. Be like, okay, in the next 6 months, I know I'm going to quit this job. Or at the next, 9 months, I know that I'm going to be somewhere different than where I'm at right now.
I like it. And it's also being organized as well, right? You have to be and understand that, hey, you know what? Again, like you said, after this, this 8-hour shift, okay, take an hour nap, take a 2-hour nap. But after I wake up, let's work another hour on this, on my business, on my passion, and then I can go back to sleep. But as long as I spend that time to work on what I love, so that I like that. Now I want to transition to the pivot. So you start off taking pictures, styling. Now you are like the content creation guru. I want to know how was that pivot? Like, how was that pivot, and what do you prefer? Because I know you still put your fashion flavor into everything that you do. That's still your baby. But what was that pivot point between fashion, styling, and actually, content creation?
So with styling, I just felt like I loved it for a while, but then at the same time, I felt like as a stylist, like I couldn't scale. And like my thing was I wanted to scale in my business and I wanted to move higher. Like, how can I scale in my business? How can I scale? So styling, it's very much service based. So like, I can only take so much clients a day. I can only take so much clients a month. And that's how, you know what I mean? Especially being in Canada, like it's not really like on and popping like that. You know what I mean? If I'm in the States, it's a little bit different. But like, cause I was in Canada, like I can only take so many heads. I can only take so many clients. Some people would book, some people wouldn't. So for me, I just wanted to kind of move into a direction of like, I don't want to have to always work for my money. Like let my money work for me. Right. So that, so that's where I was at. So I said, okay. And then when the pandemic hit, then I knew I had to pivot because I'm like, well, the stores are closed. I can't go pull. Right, I can't go pull as a stylist, and if the stores are closed, I can't bring my client to the mall. Like, And then virtual styling is just not the same. Like, it's not the same. I don't really like to virtual style. I like styling is really about an experience for me. So for me, I want to be able to have you in front of my face. Let's touch the fabric, touch the clothes. And once I couldn't do that, I was like, okay, like I'm just now at this point, like I can't continue. So then I said, okay, you know what? I know people still love fashion, like fashion stuff for me. So let me see how I can take me just posing in pictures to now creating content around my videos and doing cool transitions and whatever, which took a while because at first the transitions that you guys see now, I didn't know last year. So I learned, right? So I was like, I took the time to learn. I'll never forget December 2020, I studied the entire month for 30 days, just how to do transitions. I was up to like 4 a.m. every day, studying transitions every single night, studying transitions because I wanted to go into 2021 with that like, okay, new transition mindset. And honestly, I just made the pivot and I said, hey guys, like I'm just letting you know I'm gonna get more into content creation and I hope you guys really enjoy my new journey. And they were just like, I'm excited. And I posted my first reel in December, and that was a regular reel. It did really well. Then I posted my second reel in January, which went viral. And I was like, hey, like, people are loving this. All right, cool. So then, February, I posted a reel again, and like I'm just seeing all these comments. Like, people were just saying, I like the direction you're taking your brand. So that's how I knew that the pivot was working, because people were like, I like the direction you're taking. I like the pivot that you're moving. Keep doing that. So I knew. Once February hit, we did a reel. I did a shout out to Monique, by the way, my friend Monique. We did a reel together, and it ended up on the Shade Room in March.
Wow.
So after that, that's when my account just blew up. Like, Shade Room, okay, it blew up. Then all of a sudden, I was still doing these reels, bruh. I was on every single blog page that you could mention: Hollywood Unlocked, the Shade Room, the Melanin Shade Room, Baller Alert. Like, literally, they were just taking my videos and they were just like, it was everywhere. It was everywhere. And I got really popular for inspired outfits, and that's how I got popular. And bruh, from there, that's what happened. I honestly just kept continuing to do it. And then all of a sudden it was like blog pages reposted me. Then all of a sudden it was brand deals, and all of a sudden it was TV. Like, it was just a lot. Like, it was a lot. But that was the pivot. That's why I tell people, like, if you are scared to pivot, don't be, because that pivot could actually change your life. Because this pivot actually changed my life. Like, the pivot that I thought that I wasn't gonna change my life, it actually did. So so yeah.
Again, guys, don't be afraid to pivot. And you said something amazing. You said that you want to scale your business.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're at a point where you can make money while you're sleeping. That's the thing that people like to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, how can creating content really help someone propel their business?
Right. So as you guys know, like, content right now is key. Content is king, and content is cash. Right now on social media, it's huge right now. Like, it is like $1 billion industry. Like, if you create content, like there's so many ways that you could create content when it comes to your brand, your business. And that's just by simply making videos. Like, you can literally make videos promoting your product, and people would just go buy the product based off of your funny voiceover or your funny reel, and they see link in bio. They would just go buy it based off of that. And I think it's really about just being really consistent in what it is that you want and what it is that you want to do. For me, I knew that I wanted to get major brand deals. So I wanted the big budget brand deals. I wanted to, get those brand deals. So I knew I had to put myself in a position to be like, okay, Jalen, you got to go to the studio every single week, and you got to put out content. And before I even seen brand deals, I was doing this for like 5 months without seeing any brand deal.
Yeah.
So I seen a couple brand deals here and there, but I didn't see like until like the second half of the year. So also too, guys, give yourself that patience and give yourself that time to blossom, because I feel like people give up quick. Like, it's like after 2 months, it's like, I don't want to do it anymore. And it's like, but you didn't give yourself
that time
to fuel yourself to actually grow.
Yeah.
And we need to start doing that more in this generation, because what if you continued for just 3 more months? You could have got a $60,000 brand deal, but because you didn't continue and the brand looked at you like, oh, they stopped, then it's like, So I feel like we have to be very mindful of that and just continue to the process even when you don't see anything. It's fine.
And I will say that that's very difficult for people to really grasp. And again, we're in such a microwave what's it called? Nah, I was going to say transition. Regeneration.
Yeah. Yes.
And everyone wants everything so like right now. But really, like you said, patience. And that is a perfect segue to like what I want to talk about, because everyone knows I wrote a children's book. And again, obviously for the sake of time, I want to make sure that you're able to get into your bag.
Yeah,
but what's it called? I wrote a children's book called 5 Nuggets, and we talked about 5 essential characteristics: perseverance, persistence, patience, contentment, and faith. And as you know, patience is one of them. But I want to touch on all 5 because, like I said before, in person and on here, you embody that book. Like your life, your story. You're Leo, the main character in the book, because you know what I'm saying. And I really want to ask 3 questions, and then the final question, and I'll let you go.
of course.
But the first question is, what kept you pushing despite the rough hurdles that came your way?
Again, that end goal, baby. That end goal. That end goal. When you see something for yourself, you're gonna make it happen at all costs. Like for me, I just knew. I was like, Jalen, you are gonna be a 6-figure earner. You are going to work with brands. And I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when. But I knew. I knew at some point my emails was gonna be flooded. I knew at some point I was gonna see that 100 bracket 000. I just knew at some point. And what I really want people to understand is like, see yourself there before you get there. Like, see yourself there before you even get to that destination. Like, before I became the 6-figure earner, I was calling myself a 6-figure earner. Before I seen the brand deals, I was like, I have 25 brand deals. Like, you gotta like really talk to yourself and let yourself know. Like, one thing I always tell people is, listen, like, life and death is in the power of your tongue. What you say in your tongue and what you say, it actually does manifest. So if you're gonna say things like, oh, this is not going to work for me, it won't. If you're going to say like, oh, this is not going to happen for me, it truly won't. But you have to tell yourself like, this is for me. And the thing about it is like, I just knew there was an end goal and I was not going to stop, and I still am not stopping. But that end goal is what's going to continue to push you even when you don't see something right away. So I think that's what kept me going even through the hurdles, because I was like, okay, like this is annoying, but something's got to give. Like got to give if I keep going. So why the heck would I even give up? And lo and behold, 6 months later, I had like 10 brand deals harassing me. So literally, you just never know when it's gonna happen. But like divine consistency is just gonna push you to the next level. So yeah,
having that why. I love it. The
yeah.
question is, how you mentioned patience. Being patient. But I want to know, how did you learn to be patient through your journey?
It was hard. Especially we live in a generation where we want things right away. We want it now, and that's where we're at. But people need to understand like what you have for your life and what the Lord has for your life. It's 2 different things. Like, and this could be for believers and people who just just in general. But I'm just saying, like, in general, like what you may think you have for your life may not be something that is supposed to happen at this moment, or it might not even supposed to happen. It might not happen. Like, but what I'm saying is you got to just make sure that like whatever, like focus on your purpose, focus on what is going to get you to the next level, but focus on that purpose. Because I tend to feel like we focus on, make quick money, make quick this, quick cash, all these things, but really just focus on you and the purpose. And it will come. Like, nothing happens overnight. Like these people that are celebrities, like nothing happens overnight. And if it did happen overnight, it's going to drop overnight. So people need to understand, like, it's one of those things where people who worked really hard in the industry, like that's when people are like, oh, like people are famous and they have all this money. Like there are multiple people who didn't see a breakthrough after 20 years. There's people who didn't see a breakthrough after 12 years. I worked in retail for 10 years and I'm now just touching the surface of being a six-figure earner. 10. I'm now going into 30. And I always used to think, oh my gosh, like I'm turning 30, like I'm getting old and I feel like I should be, at this point and whatever. But at the end of the day, like your life, what your life has for you is what your life, what God has for you. And I think people just need to resonate with that. And I'd rather people work on it, like work on their brand slowly than to try to do something quickly and then it falls off quickly.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say for that. Just take your time and things will blossom, but also give yourself that time to blossom. Give yourself that time to be patient enough to see yourself grow. And I think that's an important thing.
I love it. I love it. And again, it's something that I struggle with as well. I can be honest. But again, really, I think what really helped me was my wife's pregnancy and seeing how, it took 9 months, to see, my beautiful son come to life. And it was just seeing the transition, seeing the process to see this beautiful baby come to life. So that's something that kind of like helped me understand how important patience is.
And how patient she was,
exactly.
Right? Like I couldn't even imagine like carrying, a child like for 9 months in your belly, like with so many emotions, so many different things. And yeah, like just what you said, it's just imagine how patient she was, right? And that's actually a good analogy. It's a really good analogy for sure.
No, trust me. And again, men, we should start taking more care of our women because going through, I know I can't do that. 9 months? No. Nope. Kill me now, please. I have one question before we end off. And I feel like this is very important for our culture and especially in social media. Everything is just up in your face.
Of course.
As you're waiting for your blessing.
Yeah.
How do you keep from watching other people's success and be content with your journey?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, so I've been through that. I've been through that where you're working hard, you're working crazily hard, and all of a sudden somebody else just just past you, like just past you, and you're like, you just been working on this for 4 months, and then you all of a sudden like surpass me, like that's crazy. But what we also have to understand is this. Okay, what I really realized in this life is that everyone's journey is different. Number one, right? Number two, we don't know what people took like to get to that position, right? And that could be bad or that could be good, right? We look on social media and we see people with the glamorous cars, glamorous lifestyle. Like we don't know what they did to get there. It could be something terrible, right? It could be something that we shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? So I always tell people like, you don't know what it took for them to get to that position. And also too, for people who actually work hard, you don't know their story, right? You don't know, like, there are people that I know who've been homeless for like 6 years, and then all of a sudden, like, they blossom after the 7th year. But we think it's so quick, but to them it's like, no, like I've been working on this homeless for 6 years and all of a sudden it's not working for me. So we have to understand that everybody's journey is different, and we have to focus on our own journey and not really change that narrative. Like focus on your journey, because your journey is what matters at the end of the day. And if you keep comparing yourself to other people, you're just not going to see what you want. Like, why am I going to compare myself? I'm on level, say if I'm on level 2, right? Like, why am I going to compare my level 2 to somebody's level 12? Like, doesn't make sense. Or why compare my level 12 to somebody's level 4? Like, we don't know what people's journeys are, what can keep. So I think that right there is really, really important. Focus on your own journey. And like, if somebody is successful, also clap for their wins, because when you clap for their wins, God blesses you even more. And I feel like blessings come even more when you clap for somebody who surpasses you. If you can clap for somebody who surpasses you, and that doesn't necessarily they're better than you, but if their journey, if their dream just ends up blossoming, first, clap for them and be happy for them, because that doesn't mean you're not next. You're right after, right? You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing. We tend to get this like, malicious intent, or like we feel jealous. And we've all been there. I've been there. We've all been there. But the one thing I realize is if you clap for people like who get something before you, I promise God's gonna be like, oh wow, like you clap for this individual, yeah, you're next. And I think that's really important.
I love it. And I love it. And I want to touch on one thing that you said about, you just don't know what they have done to get to where they are. And I can't remember which rapper it was, but they did say a lot of people, a lot of millionaires, you really don't know some of the illegal things that they've done.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. Like, we see the glamorous lifestyle, we see the glamorous homes, the glamorous cars, and then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, charged with fraud or charged with PPP this and whatever. Yep. And you're like, wow. So that's why I tell people, like, stop focusing on, watching other people's journey, because a lot of people in this industry, they're just really capped. They do illegal things, they lie, like, and we don't know that, you know what I mean? Like, we don't know somebody's story. So I always tell people, pay attention to your own journey, pay attention to your story, and just be legal with your story. Legal. What's best for you, and that's what it is. So yeah, 100%.
Now I want to, because again, we have to let you go, but I have one last question.
Of course.
And I feel like this is the most important question. How do you keep faith in yourself? Like, what tips can you give someone to really have that faith in themselves? And again, we are both, God-fearing men. So shout out.
Absolutely.
But this is more for just having that faith and confidence. Like, what can someone do to really like build that confidence, build that faith in themselves? Like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to conquer this. What are some give?
Yes. So this could be for a believer or a non-believer. Honestly, I feel like the biggest thing that I have for that is, like, listen, like, understand that you have a gift. Like, you have a gift. Like, you were put on this earth because you are supposed to conquer something. Like, period. You are supposed to conquer something, and you may not know what it is right now, and that's okay. And that's actually okay. Like, if you don't know what you want to do at this moment, that's okay. But don't let time stop you from conquering something. Don't let age stop you from conquering something. Don't let those things stop you from conquering something if they're feeling like, oh, because I'm 35, I'm not going to get there. There are people who just became actors at 50 and became a millionaire at that time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody is different. But the one thing I do want to say is just, guys, just really just never give up on you and your purpose. Like, don't give up on what you were put on this earth to do. Like, don't give up on you, period. Because at the end of the day, I had to understand that, like we are our best and worst critic at the end of the day, right? We're our best and worst critic. And I feel like the only way to understand it is we just got to push through. We got to do it. Like, we just, even when we don't want to do, we got to push through. We got to push through the narratives. And what is your why? You know what I mean? Like, I know for myself, like, I want to put my mom in that $1 million home. I want to put my grandma in that, mansion in Jamaica. Like, I want to be like, what is your why? And once you know your why is, keep progressing with that why. Yeah. And even little progression to no progression, or if it's a lot, listen, just keep doing it and keep going. Just keep going. Like, even through the hurdles, I kept going. Even through the distractions, I kept going. Even through the disrespect, I kept going. And when you keep going, you don't know what your life can just change in a year. Your life can change in 6 months. Yeah. Like, you just give yourself 3 to 6 months to be super consistent in your craft, and I promise you things will change for you, right? But you have to believe that. And remember, you have to see it before you even get there. Like, you got to see it. You got to be like, I see this home, or I see this car, I see this, whatever it is that you see it there, like, plant it in your brain. And then from there, when you plant it in your brain, then it's go time. So that's the advice I have.
Guys, that was Jalen Nelson, Lick My Fashion. Brother, I want to thank you. We definitely ended this season off with a bang. I appreciate you. I'll always say that. I will always say that, and how proud I am of you. Just to see, again, the growth. Trust me, you have no idea how inspiring it is. You are an inspiration to many, many, many people. So I want to thank you. Before I let you go, do you have any socials that you want to shout out? Anything that you want to, announce, whatever the case may be?
Yeah, just if you guys want to follow me, just follow me on all social media platforms at Lick My Fashion, Twitter, Lick My Fashion, TikTok, it's at Lick My Fashion. But yeah, just follow me on Instagram and you'll see all my handles in there. And yeah, Lick My Fashion has some crazy things in the works. And thank you, Dondre, for just having me. I enjoyed the podcast. I really loved it. I'm super proud of you for everything that you're doing. Keep up the great work. And I'm just excited to see us both grow and to continue grow.
Yep. Well, guys, this was the Homer Real Estate podcast. You can catch me on all streaming platforms, YouTube, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. You can again watch the visuals on YouTube. You can catch the podcast on TikTok at the Homer Real Estate Podcast, Instagram, the Homer Real Estate Podcast, and you can follow me at Homer Real Estate. So guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys were able to enjoy the gems that Jalen dropped, and stay tuned for season 2. All right.
Yes.
Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and take care.